Right, well, I did trot out a video yesterday, which was opinion by and large. I'm allowed to have one, I think. Postulating the thought of the Tories now moving against Rishi Sunak, and my basis for that was upon rumours of letters heading into the 1922 committee, no confidence letters, that his 5 pledges to the country that he's staking his reputation on are unachievable. Although Labour's poll lead is shrinking, and although some polling experts think there is still a possible route to power for the Tories, despite everything, by and large, it's for the birds. And in the wake of disastrous local election results, already from a low point after Theresa May fought for these seats 4 years ago, it would seem my bit of postulating yesterday might actually have some legs. Priti Patel, yes, she appears to be the first to stick her head above the parapet and fire a shot in Sunak's direction. And given the weakling PM has already toughened up on the illegal migration bill that she started, the initial discussions with Rwanda, for example, were her doing, you'd think he was doing okay in her books, but she's come out and said Sunak is presiding over the managed decline of the Tory Party and that he needs to offer more hope for Conservatism. What hope? Conservatism has been an absolute ruining force in the country. Shit in our rivers, energy bills soaring, NHS on its knees, a cost of living crisis as inflation stays high, and all after years of austerity, pandemic mishandling. I've spoken about it all so many times in so many videos. I feel like a bit of a broken record trotting this list of screw-ups out all the time. You know the damage they've done by now if you follow my content regularly. And Patel wants Sunak to offer hope to Conservatives. What about ordinary working class people? Sod the public. They only count once every 5 years when we con a vote out of them. And look how good we are at stopping those that don't vote for us from voting now with our voter ID scam. Still lost 1,000 councillors despite rigging things up voterwise, though, didn't you? How much worse could it have actually been? Should it have been? But she wants Sunak to offer hope. I'm reminded at this point of the hope people fleeing across the channel in dinghies might have should they not drown trying to get here. The only route open to them to claim asylum in the UK. I'm reminded that Patel wanted the RNLI to refuse to pick them up. I'm reminded that Patel wanted the Navy to turn them around in the middle of the channel, and she thinks she, of all people, can call for hope? Demanded as someone else. What a poisonous, wretched, verminous creature she is. But yeah, she wants Sunak to offer hope to the faithful after months of managerialising. Yes, old Rishi is seen as a manager by many of his own, not a leader. But Patel's reasoning for this message to Sunak is that he's offered no apology for the party's failings in the local elections, no mea culpa. He hasn't apparently even addressed party members over the losses. You would expect him to have at least sent an email out talking about a tough election of 13 years in power taking its toll, all the usual platitudes and excuses made when losses are what you've made. Certainly that comes across as a bit snotty, a bit rude, a bit aloof. But who knew Tories were such snowflakes about such things? Actually, it really is a very bad look for Sunak, particularly. You have to bear in mind that with Boris Johnson and even Liz Truss, the Tory membership actually voted for them. Without a contest being held where it came to Sunak after Truss resigned, she had, of course, defeated him. None of them had ever voted for Sunak. He was anointed by the parliamentary party. It's on them, actually. So it's a little bit rich, them getting teasy. But Tory members, it's perhaps more understandable, and even more so, given Sunak is apparently ignoring them. Now, those rumours about letters of no confidence might have firmed up a bit as well, but rather than be anything about the local elections, this has come about over Brexit. Yes, the Brexit brigade on the back benches, the people Sunak needs to keep on side to secure his position, they're not happy with him at all and have apparently marked to the whip's office squealing that after Wednesday's PMQs and Kemi Badenoch, after she got roasted by Lindsay Hoyle for once again going to the press first, something of a government habit by now, and then giving him backchat about it when he was giving her what for, well, the government again treating Parliament and us by extension as a secondary concern. But after Badenoch had stood up and declared that the retained EU bill intended to scrap all remaining legislation we shared with the EU, the foster baby of Jacob Rees-Mogg, was getting canned, the risk of ditching essential legislation by accident being too great, literally thousands of pieces of shared law facing the chopping block as it meant, and totally inadequately sifted through to prevent that. God forbid the Tories ever do a proper job or something. The Brexiteers have gone rogue. Some 20 of them marched to the whip's office, threatening letters of no confidence. The encounter reported as astonishing in the level of hostility never before seen. So nice that they've raised about this more than impoverishing people or people going on the takeover pandemic contracts, just as a for instance. Even more moderate MPs, aside from those head cases are concerned, are a little bit upset at the moment. Red Wall MPs, for example, are wailing that the levelling up that their seats kind of depend on, that their constituents were promised, but delivering for their area isn't actually happening, and that Sunak is leaving them feel like mugs. Comments from these more centrist end of the Tory spectrum MPs are saying stuff like disillusion with the government is palpable and that the party is giving up on Rishi, and that once his 1 year of grace where he can't be challenged for the leadership is over come the autumn, he may face a challenge straight away. Tory MPs are frustrated. They see Starmer as beatable, but not like this. But if a challenge is going to come, given Sunak got handed the job on a post, where's the challenge going to come from now? Who would have a crack at it this time? There's a couple of conferences coming up, which might shed a little bit of light. No doubt the topic of Sunak's future is going to be hot on both of them, central to both. First up is the Conservative Democratic Organisation gathering, which is beginning today in Bournemouth. This is the brainchild of former Tory MEP David Campbell Bannerman, and if you know anything about him, you know he's pretty much been calling for the return of Boris Johnson pretty much from the moment Johnson resigned. This is a meeting of brain cells shared amongst the hard right of the party. You can guess the types that will be in attendance when you appreciate this is like a Boris Johnson supporters club, especially when you consider keynote speakers at the event are going to include Priti Patel, Jacob Rees-Mogg, Nadine Dorries, who notably has given up her Eurovision final ticket in Liverpool, no less, to without doubt attend to push the case for the return of Boris Johnson. Mad Nad. She's not called it for nothing. The other conference runs from Monday to Wednesday of next week, and this is the National Conservatism Conference, or NatCs as they've come to be unfortunately nicknamed. I did do a video on them in more detail the other day. You go and watch that if you want to learn a little bit more. But again, it's another lineup of the backbench batshitterati elements of the Tory Party so-called right wing. They're being compared now to the US Tea Party. And keynote speakers here include Suella Braverman and Michael Gove. Other Tories apparently attending include horrors the likes of Miriam Cates, John Hayes, and Prue Leith's offspring Danny Kruger, along with other preposterously awful hard-right entities such as Douglas Murray, who has called for conditions for Muslims to be made harder across Europe, and disgraced historian David Starkey, who has said slavery did not constitute slavery because so many damn blacks survived. Also going is Trump supporter and abortion ban advocate J.D. Vance. These are the types lining up against Sunak right now. He falls and we're guaranteed pretty much to get something even worse heading into the next election, possibly even the prospect of Boris Johnson coming back again. This is how little the Tories have to offer. This is how insanely hard right the Tory party has veered, when these are the people now vying for control and likely to get it with Sunak as weak as he is. More so than ever after the local elections. And if you want to see just how badly things panned out for Sunak there, take a look at this video, which will spell it out for you. Cheers, folks.